This episode of the podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/lightscameranonsense. Visit patreon.com/lightscameranonsense to help support your favorite new movie podcast. Now, let's roll that reel.
I feel like we've talked about this off of the podcast.
Warm for my house is like 71, 72, so that's kind of what we've been keeping it at.
I'm the same way. I keep it at a nice crisp 69. That's exactly the response I was asking for, so thank you.
You're welcome. I am a team player, if nothing else.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lights, Camera, Nonsense, where we give you all the latest movie magic you may have missed. I'm Nick. I can't believe everything in the last 14 days has happened, and guess what? We're on the other side of it, and I feel better for it. We're in a better universe. Simmons.
And I'm Zach, a man of many beards, Smith.
And on January 16th, 2021, let's dive into the previews. But before we get to that, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can get notified for all of our new videos. And if you're just listening to us in audio form on Spotify or iTunes, make sure to like, subscribe, and give us 5 stars, thumbs up, give us everything. We really appreciate it.
Everything.
Zach, what have you been watching?
So, first up, I have officially finished all of Rebels. I watched the rest of season 3 and all of season 4. I think the last time I left off, I was at like episode 6 or so of season 3. So that was the bulk of how I spent my last 2 weeks. Yeah, that is a fine Star Wars show.
I just to interject already, I've finished season 2 just the other day, so nice. I'm getting there. I'm now in full motion. I'm now fully invested in this series. Can't wait for that sequel trilogy. I wonder what's going to happen to Rey and how Darth Vader is involved. But yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the initial plan for me was to watch Rebels and watch Clone Wars to kind of lead up into Mandalorian season 1 and 2. Now that I know Ahsoka is obviously in Mandalorian 2 and they're planning her own series,
yes, yeah.
You know, finishing season 2 of Rebels, obviously, spoiler alert, it's been out for years, ends in a fight with her and Darth Vader trapped in like a Jedi temple, and you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen? But I mean, clearly it takes place a few years before the Battle of Yavin, so you know what happens to Darth Vader. Oh no, is Ahsoka basically dead? And then it's like, oh, you should watch season 2. And so I was gonna start season 3, but I decided to hold off for now.
Well,
it's a good show.
I look forward to your updates as you go through, but suffice it to say, just to keep it a little brief, is that it is just a kind of easy watch, at least for me. I did not struggle through it nearly as much as I did with Clone Wars. That being said, I don't think when it reaches its highs, I don't think those highs are as high as the highs in Clone Wars.
Are you telling me you're not getting high on Star Wars Rebels?
No, I am getting high. It's just not as volatile high, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just like it never sinks to the lows of when Clone Wars is like truly god awful. But like there's only maybe 1 or 2 moments in the whole show where I felt like this is getting to the point, like this is approaching where Clone Wars would be at the time of like, fuck, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much past that, just because you know I don't want to spoil it for you going forward. But yeah, just baseline, really good show. Definitely not as bad as Clone Wars could be, but also not as good as Clone Wars could be.
So, would you say you're really excited for Star Wars Resistance?
No, I'm not gonna watch that.
Okay, all right, okay, perfect. Moving on.
No, I just like So yeah, kind of going back to what you were mentioning about it is like part of the reason to go back and watch Clone Wars and Rebels is because they lead into those extra spin-off shows like Mandalorian, the Ahsoka show, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's supposedly Sabine is also going to be showing up in this new
Nice.
Ahsoka show as well. So
Wow, spoilers. I guess she lives.
yeah, yeah, she lives.
Just kidding.
So like just a real quick tangent. I know I said I was going to keep this brief, and yet here I am. Another thing about the show is it is very much a kid show.
Yeah.
I had talked previously about how the show does like uh, go through more adult themes at times, but they're handled very much with kid gloves, which isn't bad. It is a kid show. It was shown on Disney XD, I think.
Yeah, initially.
Uh, and So there's not like a whole lot of like, oh no, this person died. Like there's really not a whole lot of that. If they do something like that, it's usually a fake out, like, oh no, I can't believe it. And then they'll come back from the commercial break and it's like, I'm alive. I was just under that rock over
Oh, okay. Classic. What is his name? AR5 or the new one that they introduced at the
there.
end?
AP5.
AP5. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. I like
Advanced Placement 5.
but
I'm re-
yeah. Anyway, what?
I was just gonna say I'm really excited to finish the show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
It's
they stated that it is finished.
Yes, it is for sure finished. I think yeah, Filoni did an interview like a couple of years back, maybe a year back. Um, yeah, I think it actually was like a year ago because it was off the heels of Clone Wars season 7, and he was being asked like, well, so you were able to go back to Clone Wars. Do you think you would go back to Rebels? And he basically responded with, no, I told the story I wanted to from the get go. Like that was all completed. Um, I will. I wouldn't mind like touching those, like going back and touching up those characters
Oh.
on different things. Um, so we have the Ahsoka show coming
Right.
up.
So
Uh,
it was another platform on which he could expand more of the Star Wars universe. The
right,
Clone
right.
Wars, Rebels, all of these media that he has been involved with is just a way to expand the Star Wars
Yeah,
universe.
yeah, and it's different. The way Rebels ends is different from Clone Wars because Clone Wars was canceled. So when he got the opportunity to go back and like I think in the same interview he talks about how like there was always kind of like this nagging feeling that it wasn't completed, like it didn't connect really. Like it kind of connected, it was tangentially related, but it wasn't like that full connection. And so that's what he wanted season 7 of Clone Wars to be, which of course
I am angry.
is it. I wonder if it's still recording you though. Like, is the video just going to keep dropping out like that and you just power through, or what?
It's gonna keep recording.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I think unfortunately that's just probably what we'll have to do.
Yeah. I'll look into it.
Yeah,
I'll ask around being Travis.
yeah.
That's his nickname I gave him just now. Did you remember the thought that you had?
um, I think I was just saying, he got the opportunity to go back with Clone Wars and finish that up the way he wanted to, whereas with Rebels, he didn't have to do that
Right.
because he knew what he wanted to do from the get go, and he was able to do that. He got all 4 seasons that he wanted. He wraps it. It's like it's wrapped up with a nice little bow. There's definitely some loose ends for sure, which again, going into Ahsoka and what people are theorizing that show is going to be about. Um, yeah, like it's there is one big leftover, but ultimately the story that they are telling in the show is all like done.
Right.
So I get why he would come back and say like, no, I don't. Going back to Rebels would be totally superfluous and unnecessary. Um, Anyway, all that to say, that long ass tangent. to say Rebels is good. I hope you continue to enjoy it, and I look forward to hearing your final thoughts on it.
Tell me you have 5 more things that you have watched.
No, I don't actually. I
Okay.
don't.
All right.
Um, I have two other things I watched, and
Fun.
one of them is so minor, I struggle to even muster the desire to even mention it. Nick, when we had D on here,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, there was a story that we vaguely talked about in relation to the Disney Investors Day um, video that I put up on the channel, and that was like 3 or 4 days after they did that, they came out and with another show that they were announcing called Marvel Legends or Marvel Studios Legends or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my thought was, I not fear, that's a strong word, but I have a feeling that this is just going to be a MCU clip show divided up to the characters. Whereas what I would really like is to kind of see like a breakdown on the comic origins and like how they're pulling in that kind of stuff into like, there's all this talk of like House of M being a huge influence on
WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Yeah.
I would like to see something more akin to that. What we got was the prior. So Marvel Studios Legends is in all sense
It's
of
a recap.
the term, yeah, a recap. So there's 2 episodes out right now. One is for Wanda Maximoff or Scarlet Witch, and the other one is for Vision. And it basically just breaks down their whole journey, quote unquote, in the MCU up to this point.
Right.
So we're going to get the same thing with Bucky. We're going to get the same thing with Sam when Falcon and the Winter Soldier drop. I imagine we're going to get the same thing with Loki when Loki drops. Um, yeah, it's interesting, I guess, if you're like it's been a minute and you need a kind of a refresher what's going on. It's like a nice little walk down memory lane. They're like 7, 9 minute episodes, really not that long at all. Uh, but I can't see someone who hasn't seen like a lot of course, Vision and Wanda's stuff is centered around Age of Ultron. I can't see someone who's never seen Age of Ultron forward
Yeah.
going to this and using it as like a Spark Notes version to catch up for WandaVision.
It's
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 more like it's like a YouTube clip video, if that makes sense, or like a Marvel AMV, as it were.
it's weird. It's in that it's directly in the middle, like this empty space of people who they're trying to catch up on these
Yeah.
characters. Movies that these people have probably already seen, probably remember. Three, two. Movies that these people have probably seen or remember, or they're like trying to, hey, these are the origins of the character and you've never really seen them. Let me fix this. And it's like, who are you trying to remind? Are you trying to remind fans who are caught up on the entire universe, or are you trying to basically bridge the gap? Because really, bridging the gap, you're not doing that much with just
Yeah.
showing old clips that they could just go and watch the entire movie for.
And they're not like, I mentioned the YouTube clip video. Those things are usually 30 minutes. Depending on what clip show you're watching for.
Yeah.
But these are so short that there's only so much that you can do with them. So effectively, what you get out of the Wanda and Vision episodes is they're in a relationship. At
Oh,
some
okay.
point, and at some point, Vision died. Spoiler for Infinity War, I guess. um,
Yeah.
um, but that's it. There's not. I mean, like, granted, there's not a whole lot of other context to glean from that. But as a
Well,
like a
they're trying to do everything within the realm of them giving you the origins of these characters without bringing up comics, because the
right,
comics are not what they're drawing from. They're drawing these new shows from the previously established continuity of the MCU. So
Right. Well,
that's why they're so short.
for sure. And to be fair, also, what I want is coming from someone who knows that comic history. I know that already. So me getting a deep dive, like that's what I want because that's not necessarily a spoiler. You can't really do that as a primer for WandaVision, who only has 2 episodes out at the moment, and talk about like, well, for WandaVision, we're drawing from House of M a lot, and this is what happens in House of M.
Right.
Spoiler for the entire first season of that show, like uh, obviously they're probably gonna do some things a little differently from that on the whole, but it wouldn't make much sense for them to kind of undercut their new show too much. But that being said, yeah, kind of going back to your point, is I'm not sure who this is for. It's like, I guess, a nice little extra if you're literally are unsure of what to watch and you're hovering over it, and like this is a good way to kill 10 minutes. Sure, I guess. I I don't imagine I'll be going back and watching the other ones unless that situation happens where I am hovering over
I don't
the
remember how they introduced Falcon, so let me watch
yeah.
this 5-minute clip.
On your left would be the clip of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was pretty much completely useless on my part. But leading in from that, I did watch the first 2 episodes of WandaVision.
Oh, me too.
Oh, hey, look at that. Go figure. biggest release of the week, and we both watched it. Okay. Yeah, so for those unaware,
What was that underhanded comment? Like, oh wow, yeah, big shocker here. The guy that likes MCU stuff watched the new MCU stuff.
No, it wasn't like that. It's like, of course we're both gonna watch. But for those unaware, WandaVision is the new Disney Plus MCU series that just dropped, starring Elizabeth Olsen reprising her role as Wanda Maximoff or Scarlet Witch, and Paul Bettany as Vision. And it is, to put it in the most succinct description possible, it is if David Lynch got his hands on an MCU franchise.
Are you saying David Lynch because of like Eraserhead and like all of his weirder movies? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So when we talk about like Lynchian descriptors in like film theory or
Yeah.
discussion or whatever, that's kind of what we're getting at. Is there's a you take a normal kind of setting,
Mm-hmm.
and then underneath that you have something to subvert that normal, or with like weird or horror aspects, that kind of thing. So
Right.
something out of the ordinary within the ordinary. And that's very much the case with WandaVision. It's like it's a take on like I Love Lucy or Bewitched type 1950s comedy sitcom
Yeah.
shows. But then you get those peaks into the underground and the weird, that seems to indicate that it is running parallel with what the more normal, quote unquote, aspects of the MCU that we're familiar with. Um, so that being said, because it's only 2 episodes in, and those episodes are like around 30 minutes each, there's not a whole lot to glean exactly at the moment. But uh, just to say that so far I'm enjoying it and it's intriguing, and it's very different from anything that we've had so far in the MCU.
Yeah.
And I think
I agree.
after so much of having what we did have with the MCU, not that that was bad. I like all that stuff for the most part.
Garbage.
Unless we're talking about Thor: The Dark World,
Iron Man
for the
2.
most part. Yeah, that's fine. That's like squarely
Ant-Man 2.
middle of the bottom. I think that's probably more in line with Iron Man 2 as well. I think bottom of barrel would be like, Thor: Dark World or
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, pretty
compared
bad.
to everything else in the
Yeah, compared
MCU.
to everything else, yes, yeah.
Yeah, we'll rank it one of these days.
Yeah. We'll wait till there's 50 movies and 20 TV
We'll take an
shows.
entire 2 hours to do it too.
Yes. But yeah, it is different. It's interesting. I like what they're doing with it. There's so many like if you know things and you know when they pop up, like little Easter eggs here and there, not just with the MCU, but just with those 1950s sitcoms in general. You know, episode 2 starts out with a intro that is just the Bewitched intro.
WandaVision.
Um,
WandaVision.
yeah, and I think it's episode 1 ends with like the I Love Lucy
Yeah.
credits as well. So there's just like that little stuff in there. It's fun. I like it. What did you think?
I'm really enjoying the mystery aspect of it. You pretty much hit the nail on the head, and I'm pretty sure you stole the comparison from somebody else. I know you. It's David Lynch directing Pleasantville. You know, you get all the aspects of the why is this one thing in color when we're in black and white, and where did it come from, and you know who's this character coming out of a manhole, and why is this person bleeding and not making a big deal about it, and that kind of it's just like little things that
Yeah,
would make you uncomfortable even in a normal scenario, and you're just like, what is going on?
yeah,
Something is not right.
and they do make Wanda uncomfortable,
Yeah.
which is the thing to really pick up on. Is that she's seeing these? I think subconsciously at this point knows there's something weird going on, but and you kind of get some maybe active participation from her in episode 2 as well,
Right. Right.
where you kind of see maybe some time shenanigans are also happening as well. Um, so that's why is that funny?
Well, it's just like they talk about like, hey, I think I'm gonna go get some popcorn, and then bam, pregnant.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
9 months in.
No, yeah. Well, and then immediately after that, you have this dude in a beekeeper suit being swarmed by bees crawling up from the sewer,
Yeah.
and it's just like fuck that shit. So,
The last time I had this feeling of what the fuck is going, I can't wait to watch the next episode, is Watchmen, when that was going on, and every time they answered one question, they gave you 3 more, and
yeah,
you're just like, I'm fully invested. I love the characters. I love the setting. This is that. It's that, but in the MCU.
kind of. It's too more extreme, I think, because at this point we really don't have a whole lot of answers. They're just piling the questions on top of one another.
Right, right.
So when we get to the midway point, they're going to be like, okay, here's all our questions.
And I think this news actually came out either today or yesterday or sometime in between, where the lead director / showrunner, Matt Shackman, I believe, said that the entire WandaVision series is 6 hours long. But
Yes.
did they announce that it was like 8 episodes long? So we might get some longer episodes later on.
So it's 9 episodes,
9,
and this
okay.
is actually part of the docket. So just by virtue of leading into it, I'll just say it here, and then we don't have to talk about it later. But Kevin Feige actually went on record and said that all of their MCU shows are aiming for around a 6-hour runtime. And so whatever they need to do in terms of like making sure each episode is cohesive and adds something,
Yeah.
to hit that time overall length, that's what your episode count is going to be. So I believe at the moment, I've heard conflicting reports on how the length is going to progress throughout the WandaVision series, but we do know it's 9 episodes, and yeah, it's going to be around 6 hours. I've heard that supposedly it's starting smaller, and then with each episode, it's going to be it gets a little longer with length.
I think
I'm not sure if that's true though.
I think if we're going with Kevin Feige, the way he's dealing with it, as long as each episode is cohesive and introduces something new, we're getting 6 hours of this interesting story and interesting quote unquote world, whatever it is, and it's more MCU. We got no MCU last year, so 6 hours of it in the first 2 months of 2021, and already we're winners when it comes to the audience.
Yeah. So, and in that same interview, he goes on to talk about, like that 6-hour runtime is really the sticking point, and then everything else just kind of evolves from there. where he announced that She-Hulk, the Disney Plus She-Hulk series, is going to be 10 episodes long. So, you know, you fit that 6 hour time length into 10 episodes, and then we know Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be 6 episodes. So that's just going to be hour-long episodes 6 times in a row, apparently.
All right.
Yeah, it is interesting to kind of see where their head is at in terms of like organizing everything, and they're not
It's a lot of different
constrict.
factors going in,
Well,
like runtime and then consistency and then or like they don't go for an episode total. I don't think
right.
they
No,
go for more.
exactly. Which is what I was going to say. You know, we were used to looking at television for so long in the form of like seasons, you know, summer seasons, spring seasons, stuff like that. And you would have these uh, syndicated television shows like your Grey's Anatomy or whatever, your Seinfelds, where they would get their episode count before they shot anything.
Right.
So your normal, you know, hour-long drama for whatever, 22 episodes separated into two half seasons.
And it's like filled up with fluff and filler.
Right, and you would just go from there. Whereas this, we're kind of seeing the reverse. We're starting from a total runtime, and then I guess forming the story in with that runtime, and then looking at the full thing and saying, okay, this is a good separation point. This is a good separation point. This is a good separation point, and that will bring you your total number of episodes. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out because it is certainly a different way of going about the process.
And not to mention, and this will be the last thing. It also has to tie into the MCU, or
Yes,
not that it has to, but that it will.
it
That
will.
we know
Yeah.
that a large majority of these shows are not just standalone series, and that they are tying into the universe. Not only are they trying to tell a cohesive story on its own in a limited amount of time, I mean 3 movies length
Yeah.
worth, but they're also either introducing new elements to both the universe or to those characters, or changing those characters that these actors have portrayed probably more than once, and then incorporating that all into an already established universe. It's a heavy, heavy burden on Kevin Feige's shoulders, but I'm interested to see how it all ties together. I'm not going to always be looking for like these little clues here, like, you know, the websites of the world, the Screen Rants, the Vultures, the whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But I can speculate, and I can sit on my couch watching it on my TV and just enjoy it like a fan. And I think a lot of people will.
Yeah, and I think you know, you can. I'm sure there's plenty of people who can find enough stuff to bag on the MCU for because they hate joy. But you know, like if you're just your casual viewer, like those little Easter eggs aren't even necessary anyway.
Right.
You know, something I think that the MCU has, as a whole, has done really well is if you're not invested in the outside lore or anything like that, or if you're not wanting to follow these clues or anything, you don't have to. But the main things that you're going to connect are always front and center. They're not deep, they're like right there. So, you know, I mean, granted, we knew this going in, but eventually it'll get to the point where WandaVision connects with Doctor Strange,
Right.
Multiverse of Madness, and you're like, hey, that's Doctor Strange, the Benedict.
the BLT.
Yes.
I don't. You said Benedict, and I'm like, yeah, eggs, and then I'm like, yeah, McGriddle, and yeah, BLT. So.
Yeah, so it's one of those things I think it also gets bagged on simultaneously for, and that's appealing to a more casual audience. But fuck, it works, man. Like, yeah. Like you can't deny it doesn't work. And then if you are like hardcore, you know, fan interest type of person, then there is all that little extra stuff in there for you to go like, well, 5 movies ago, that's when they first hinted at Thanos.
Well, that's what Legends is for. Legends will become
no.
It will become more and more relevant with
it.
more and more of these TV shows incorporated into the movies. You're laughing at this. You're chuckling at it. You're
Did you watch
guffawing. It? Yes, I did. I watched both.
Okay.
And I was just like, yeah, this is just a clip show. I hate it. They're taking away the job from a perfectly good small creator on YouTube. This little Filipino kid in Idaho is just trying to, you know, earn his buck, trying to pay rent, trying to make a series based on all of the series on Disney Plus, incorporating them into the MCU. And you know what? Shame on you, Disney. Shame on you, Mickey.
I'm not
But
sure where that rant all came from, but good on you, I guess. Power to the people.
Thank you to the small creators. Wink, wink. Help them out. I know. I think that the Legends. That's basically probably they're laying the groundwork now, and it's really dumb and bare and open, and like there's nothing for us to watch that. Yeah. But as the shows and the movies continue on, it's only going to become more and more relevant. So I guess just lead credence to that. Moving on.
Anyway, that's everything I watched. Nick, what did you watch?
Well, I watched WandaVision. I watched it and enjoyed it. Can't wait to watch more. And so
you should put that on the box.
Can't wait to watch more in a sarcastic tone. So I'll start off real quick with 2 movies that I watched as comfort food. These are older movies. They are not new movies, but I watched them because I was having a really crappy week at work. Just, I know, revealing behind the curtain, really tired, and I'm a tired guy. We work day jobs when we're not doing the podcast, and
sure, we do that. Yeah.
While some of us get to work from home, very luckily, I have to go out and make a living selling my body. No, that's not true.
I'm extremely lucky. Yes. Yeah,
no. So I went back and I watched 2 movies that I know I enjoy from beginning to end, and I'll just briefly touch on them before going to a new movie that I watched. So I watched Shaun of the Dead, and I plan on watching the rest of the Cornetto trilogy and all of Edgar Wright's movies in the next couple of weeks because he is a fantastic filmmaker. He's consistently good. Are there any Edgar Wright movies that you do not enjoy?
I mean, there's Edgar Wright movies that I like less than other Edgar Wright movies, but I don't feel like there's anyone that I don't actively not enjoy.
Right, like it's not a.
There aren't any Edgar Wright movies that I don't actively enjoy.
There you go. So I watched Shaun of the Dead, and that was a classic. That was 2004 that came out, and I remember picking up the DVD at GameStop back when they sold DVDs of movies.
Oh, yeah.
And taking it home and watching it and just loving it.
I believe I got... No, that can't be right. Maybe it might be. I think I might have got mine at like a Sam Goody.
Nice. Man, dead businesses. And then I watched... GameStop is still around. Do whatever you want with them. And then I watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I almost said, it's not Chris Lord and Philip Miller. It's
Phil Lord.
Phil Lord and Chris Miller. I don't know why I switch them. It's Last Man on Earth, Phil Miller. And that is just, I can't begin to describe how enjoyable that movie is, even as an adult. It being so on the podcast, I've said multiple times, I'm not really a kids animation movie goer. Just in general, the Pixar's, the DreamWorks, the Sony Pictures Animation, most of those movies, I'm like, whatever. Angry Birds, why you doing this? Minions, get the hell out of here. Go back to France. I don't actually. You know what? They're fictional characters. I don't care. Fuck them. But when this movie came out, I was actually still working at the movie theater when it came out, and I went to go see it. And I could not stop laughing. I was surrounded by kids. And this is back in, 2009?
Ooh, I think it's 2010. Let's check.
Check for me. But pretty early on. And I still enjoy it as much as I did that day. And that's rare for me. Because, the quality of movies, watching from childhood and watching all the way to adulthood tends to almost always, wither and not necessarily die, but you don't enjoy it as much as you did when you were a kid because, like, it's all based around nostalgia at that point, and that's go sour like milk.
It was 2009, by the way. You were correct.
I'm good with movie dates. Just quiz me on that, man. We don't know anybody who does that though. So I enjoyed both of those, Shaun of the Dead and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. That's my sorry. That took way longer than I meant for it to, but everybody has comfort movies. We have movies that
absolutely.
We have movies
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we have movies that draw out specific emotions from us that we tie to specific events in our lives that uh, bring out those feelings that we had at
Mhm.
that moment. So I think every once in a while, try to find that movie that you enjoy from beginning to end that brings you back to a comforting feeling, and then you know have yourself a better day. I guess. I mean, it's
Oh,
literally gotten me out of a funky mood is watching a Cornetto movie or Clouded with a Chance of Meatballs or some of the other movies I watch. So
yeah. Well, not only did you have a difficult, time at work, but just with everything at the time.
2020, just
Yeah,
yeah, and the last
2021.
2 weeks, yeah,
Jeez.
the first little bit of 2021, it's okay. Things will
Yeah,
get better.
I could definitely understand needing some comfort through all that shit. Um, Curiously, I have never sat down and watched all of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Really, I think that you would enjoy it.
I think when it dropped, I was in that phase of like, I don't if it's like I don't really
Like an
want.
old wizard on the side of the highway. What's going on? Hey,
There's a guy on the highway
fireball.
calling himself Gandalf, and I just like I don't know. Like I think at the time I was like steering away from animation as a whole, or like kids animation. So I think that was probably about the time when I would have missed that. Uh, but yeah, I always hear great things. So one of these days I'll have to actually sit down and watch it.
I think you would enjoy it. I mean, it's obviously a kids animated film made for kids, but there are scenes that kids wouldn't get that adults would and would.
Yeah,
It's got that classic Phil Lord, yep, and Chris Miller uh, comedy feeling to it. So if you enjoy
right.
the rest of their works, yeah. Now let me move on to
Sounds like a movie too. Don't talk about that one.
we don't have to. I mean, other than the strawberry bit and them saying like the names of it was before Bug Snacks, and I think that Bug Snacks should have credited Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs too. But
Yeah,
whatever. It, it's not like nobody's come up with the idea of talking food
that's true.
with punny names. Moving on to a new movie. Let's talk about this new movie, Zach, and then we'll hit into the news because I don't want to talk about the second movie. I watched this movie called Shadow in the Cloud, which came out, I believe, January 1st. It was in some film festivals late last year. It was or film festivals in that they were being sent out to critics and stuff to watch. But it's called Shadow in the Cloud, and it stars Chloe Grace Moretz and no one else I super recognized. I feel like the guy who was the uh, KG Beast in Batman v Superman, or which.
I didn't watch
All
that.
right,
So, what's it
damn
called?
it, Shadow in the Cloud, and it's about this woman in World War II. It starts off with like this weird 1940s commercial for hey, be a good mechanic and treat your plane right, otherwise the gremlins will.
It's got fucking Nick Robinson, man.
Oh, he's okay. So I'll get into it. But like, it starts off with like a 1940s kind of commercial telling you to treat your plane right, otherwise the gremlins will always rip apart your plane and stuff like that. And then it cuts into the movie, and we're following Chloe Grace Moretz out of the fog on a runway, and she gets onto this army plane that like is coming down to the ground. What is it, taxis on the runway, and then immediately flies off, like, so she's able to get into the plane that way.
Running.
No. So she's carrying a secret briefcase that's top secret.
Secret.
um and so she manages to talk her way onto the plane, although it's a plane made entirely of men, obviously, who are on a mission to get to, I think, like Bolivia.
Sorry, you said a plane made of men.
No, that's not what I meant. Filled with men.
No, I understand that
It's
now.
got a crew of men. Okay,
But
I'm just thinking a plane with like buff arms.
Yeah, you got like four guys on the wings, just like actually flapping their arms.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm sorry. It's just a weird movie. Okay, so first off, do you... what is his name? John Leguizamo. No, John Landis. Max Landis. It was written by Max Landis.
Okay, yeah.
So that should give you some context.
It does give me context, yeah.
So it's, I don't want to go too much into the plot, but it basically follows her as she gets trapped into like this turret at the bottom of the plane. You barely see any of the characters, but the way that it's shot and edited, it's made to look like she recognized all of the people's faces and kind of. This is a hard movie to sell because it starts off as one thing. It starts off as one thing and then becomes something entirely different. You think it's a World War II spy thriller starring Chloe Grace Moretz, and then it turns into some sort of mystery. And then is there a monster on the plane? What's the mission? What's in the briefcase? There's a lot of questions that keep popping up. Who are these characters? And it's also a story about toxic masculinity during World War II and actually just in general. And it's got all of these different messages that it's trying to tell you, but it's also trying to do 3 different movies all at once. But to me, it kind of worked as a creature feature set in the past that you wanted last 2019 with Overlord.
That's exactly what I wanted, actually.
And no, this is actually what you were probably expecting from Overlord. So it's weird. It's got a meta commentary. It's shot in a very like, is this all going to take place in this one location? No, there's actually going to be some and then there's some like ridiculousness, like who do you think could climb on the side of a plane at 40,000 feet?
I mean, that's just
Hit Girl can. I highly recommend checking out Shadow in the Cloud. If you hate it, come back and email us at lightscameranonsense@gmail.com. What's happening to my voice? Excuse me. And let me know what you think, because honestly, I don't know how to explain this movie without giving it away.
I'll have to check it out. When you're describing this as a movie with 3 different genres and trying to tell like many different messages at the same time, the first thing that pops into my head is Da 5 Bloods.
Yeah.
Which, again, switches genres just like at the drop of a hat. Like one moment you're watching fucking Wild Hogs, and the next minute you're watching Rambo, or Full Metal Jacket or some shit that is like, this isn't what you started with, but it somehow works by the end of it.
Is it a war movie? Is it a blaxploitation film? Is it a commentary on how we treat African Americans in the United States? Is it this?
Soldiers in general.
Damn you, Spike Lee.
He's a fucking genius.
He's a genius. No, that wasn't a negative. Damn you.
Yeah. So I will have to check that out because I'm all for just off the rails messaging genre flips that still somehow seem to work.
It's weird. It seems like it was a B movie that was created in the 70s, but like just released today.
Yeah.
So, Nick Robinson is in it, but like he's only in like 2 scenes. Like you hear his voice for 80% of the movie, but he's only in like 2. Just watch the movie.
Regular Bryan Cranston, that guy.
Yeah. That was a Godzilla 2014 reference.
Never forget.
Oh, I don't know if we want to start using that phrase with monster movies. Let's dive into the news, Zach.
Yeah.
News.
I think that's probably your best news theme song yet.
Well, my voice is hoarse. My voice is a horse.
Oh. Why the long face?
You making fun of my face?
Moving on. Starting off, Morbius has officially been delayed once again.
Damn it!
It has now been delayed to October 8th of this year, 2021.
Not the appropriate month for Morbius. Damn it! Ah!
Oh gosh, that
so
makes
angry.
So much more sense.
I was getting all pale for that movie. Look at how pale I am.
Yes.
I'm the living vampire.
Now you can kind of retroactively go back on that a little bit, and then but not too much because you don't want to like lose too much ground and then have to like work double time to gain back the paleness.
Well, I mean, I never leave my apartment, so
It's true.
I think I got
You
it.
are the living vampire.
I am the living vampire.
And then moving on, Loki season 2 has been officially confirmed to be in development. And of course, this is before season 1 has dropped. I want to go back just real quick on this point. I mentioned in our best of the year episode that it concerned me that Lovecraft Country had not been already announced for season 2 because so much of television, it seems at the moment, is season 1 isn't even out, season 2 greenlit.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm concerned. This shit, this kind of stuff, where they're like, we're still 5 months away from release. Greenlight is season 2.
I think just small tangent, small side discussion. A lot of it is the studio looking at internet buzz and treating it either seriously or as a marketing from a marketing perspective, and they're like, okay, well, we're getting a lot of buzz from the Loki trailer. People seem to be really digging it. Just go ahead and greenlight it, and depending on how the first season goes, we can always cancel it.
Right.
Depending on how much they're in production.
Something also gleaned from this as well is I don't believe either Falcon and the Winter Soldier or WandaVision have been greenlit for a season 2, which leads me to believe that because of the context of this Loki show, it's more suitable to a continuous show, like
anthology.
And I'm wondering if, there's been reports, especially on the Star Wars side, about all these little shows being, single seasons or, contained to their one run. I wonder if that is what's going on here with some of these Marvel shows as well, because they're leading into these the movies as well, into this interconnected universe. And that once WandaVision finishes up and we lead into Multiverse of Madness, doesn't really make sense to keep doing a WandaVerse show, or are they just holding out until the end of WandaVision to say, okay, well, based off of how that ends, now we can say there's going to be a season 2, much like the way they did Book of Boba Fett at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian.
Right.
It's just...
They could also just be limited series, and they're just not telling us because they don't want us to temper our expectations. Like, they're like, why is there no WandaVision season 2? Well, that's not confirmed because the story is going to end and bleed into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or Spider-Man 3.
It frankly makes sense with comic properties because they do this all the time. They'll do short runs, 12 issues, 6 issues, whatever. And then this leads into that, and then somebody else will pick up from there. There's only so many of the huge ongoing, like, Detective Comics. Amazing Spider-Man just had their reset like 2 years ago, I think. There's only so many of those left. Most of the time, from what it seems like to me at least, it's like small issue, or small run, into these bigger runs eventually. And I like Daredevil was one that just had its, I don't think it's reset, but it had, it's kind of long run, and then it looks like it's going to have maybe a shorter run, half the length of what the previous run was, and then kind of go into a long one again.
Right. And it could also just be that they don't have any more of that story to tell.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's always a possibility. Like, they want to wait until they have a sequel idea before they do.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Or like you said, they don't want to give away or they don't want to lower your expectations for the way that what's going on currently is going to end.
Yeah, that's how I would read it. If I'm just a regular audience member, I'm talking to Kevin Feige, we're having tea, a delicious, he put 3 sugars in. I thought that was too much. I only put 1 in. That's how he gets all of his energy. So we're talking, and he's like, yeah, this is this, WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's this. Well, why does Loki have 2 seasons and this don't? Is it because WandaVision is ending after season, or do they die at the end of the season? And then I start asking him all the questions, and I start trying to dig at the cobwebs, or not the cobwebs, the curtains, I guess.
Dust mites.
Yes, I am a dust mite. I don't know. So yeah, it's just maybe not even as that's like from a calm, fan perspective, not just a tell me more. I need to know more. I'm a fan of Marvel.
Are you saying that's what I am?
No, I'm saying like the rabid fan that's just like they're asking questions and they don't care what the answer is as long as it lines up with how they want the universe to continue, as opposed to just enjoying it for what it is.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting to look at the way they make these decisions.
Yeah.
Because you obviously we could spend all day like going back and forth. What does this mean? What does this mean?
Right.
But I always find that fun.
This is a Marvel heavy episode of the podcast.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Our next story is also Marvel. So officially, Kevin Feige himself has confirmed that Deadpool 3 will be not only rated R but connected to the MCU.
Woo! Good on them. That's
yeah.
a lot of. That's like a lot. That's a big risk for them.
Let me pull up this quote here.
It was like the highest grossing rated R movie for a long time.
So he was doing an interview with Collider, and he said, in reference to Deadpool 3, it will be rated R, and we are working on a script right now, and Ryan's overseeing a script right now. It will not be filming this year. Ryan is a very busy, very successful actor. We've got a number of things we've already announced that we now have to make, but it's exciting for it to have begun. Again, a very different type of character in the MCU, and Ryan is a force of nature, which is just awesome to see him bring that character to life. So yeah.
So they've just announced that it exists in the MCU. They haven't announced directors or writers for that film yet.
No. I mean, obviously, Ryan Reynolds will be on the
producer
because he's been on for the last two, and he's
That's
really
his baby.
Yeah, he's connected to those. I mean, he basically financed the first movie himself. But yeah, this is just kind of confirmation for all the people that were dreading, like, oh, now that Fox is under Disney, is Deadpool going to sink down to a PG-13 rating? At least according to Feige, it will not be. It will be rated R. It will be connected to the MCU as a whole, which tells me that we're still getting more time shenanigans off the back of Deadpool 2.
Oh, I mean, because it's being incorporated in the MCU, the time shenanigans are just everyday things. So
we have to make peace with the fact that time shenanigans are here to stay.
Exactly.
In Marvel, it seems like.
You know what's funny? Now there is, because Deadpool 3 is now confirmed, the DC EU, or at least Green Lantern, exists in the MCU.
It's true.
Because Deadpool kills Ryan Reynolds, who had finished the script for Green Lantern. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Fuck, I fucked that up. Fucking fuck. You heard it here first.
Not content to only do their own comics universe, Marvel has now taken it upon themselves to fix the DCEU.
Well, Green Lantern wasn't part of the DCEU, was it?
It wasn't, no.
Yeah, so
this is their gateway now.
Yeah.
They worm their way all. Yeah, and then also confirming that it's not shooting this year, so we won't see that production start until next year at the earliest. Yeah, they got a lot of stuff in the pipeline anyways, so I don't think we'll be really hurting for a whole lot of content.
I think that's also for the better because they aren't planning on introducing X-Men until at least 2023.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So moving on from there, Roku has acquired over 75 properties from the Quibi library.
Poor Roku.
Now, there's no solid, definitive amount on how much they spent on this, but estimates are around under 100 million, which for 75 properties, a lot of which haven't even come out yet. I was looking at this list, and there's shit that
A-list actors involved.
Yeah, Quibi folded before this stuff could even launch.
These are remakes of classic films that they were putting a lot of investment and time and effort into these, and they just
like the classic Punk'd with Chance the
Punk'd, Reno 911.
Yes, right.
I was super sad about that. What were some of the other ones?
I know Spielberg
Well,
is
so
working.
they were doing The Fugitive. I remember that was one. I feel like they were doing another like classic '80s show on their service. Can't remember. There were a lot of shows on Quibi, and I remember when I was trying it out at the very beginning, going, "This is an interesting idea. I could see why they would want to do this." And on the outside of all of this, I mean, knowing that I dropped off and canceled it right after my trial was over, I can safely say that this is probably for the better. Although this is weird, it being on Roku now.
Yeah, and they're free too. You don't have to pay a subscription or anything for them. You just have to have a Roku device, and they're available on the library now. Maybe the Liam Hemsworth led Most Dangerous Game was what you were thinking of.
Yes, although that's
Yeah,
technically an adaptation of a story, but that's been adapted a million times.
there's been like 10
Yeah,
film adaptations of that, so probably more than that. Yeah, that'll have Liam Hemsworth and Christoph Waltz. I'm imagining Christoph Waltz will be the villain in that movie.
yes, probably
Um,
that poor man.
yeah, so a lot of stuff. There's a Will Forte and Caitlin Olsen
Oh,
show.
that was that actually got nominated for an award.
Really?
Yeah, I actually because I remember reading the story on Instagram about because Caitlin Olsen and Rob McElhenney, Mac and Sweet D on It's Always Sunny, they're married in real life.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing an exchange on their Instagrams about how she was nominated for an award, but for the show that she wrote, which is this Quibi show, and that Rob McElhenney for his It's Always Sunny show was not nominated. So it was kind of a funny couple feud online, and I was just like, I love both of these people because they're both wholesome and great creators of content. But I can't remember what that one was, but I remember watching that one, and that one was funny because Will Forte and Caitlin Olsen are hilarious. I'm interested in this. I'm probably gonna have to steal my mom's Roku. Sorry, Mom. You haven't made it this far on the podcast. You don't love me, so you haven't heard this. You won't. But I might have to steal her Roku, or just go buy a Roku. Go buy a Roku.
You get a Roku stick for like $24.
What is savings? You can now go watch all of this. What would have been dead Quibi content.
All the Quibi content without having to subscribe to Quibi.
However, they haven't said any. Like this is all just news of a purchase of a library of content.
They haven't said that. Well, actually, hold on.
I was gonna say there is a chance that they could put all of this behind a paywall. I mean, look at Peacock. Peacock was sold as a free service, and then they're like, okay, but if you want the new episodes or the new seasons of these shows, you're gonna have to subscribe to the $7 Peacock service. You want the cock service? $7.
Okay, so just like literally the very beginning of this Variety article is Roku snapped up the rights to the majority of Quibi's multi-million-dollar portfolio, original programming, more than 75 shows in all, and will make them available free to stream in 2021 on the Roku channel. So it's possible immediately after this purchase, they'll be free for the rest of 2021. Maybe, yes, they are building their own portfolio with acquisitions to then have this stuff behind a paywall. But
later
as
on,
as of 2021, and as far as that's concerned, oh my God, I can't talk. I shouldn't be doing a podcast then.
Blah 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 blah. There,
as far as 2021 is concerned, it will be free. So,
all right. Well, I'll just go ahead and take this egg off my face and get rid of this. My face. Oh, thank you. And just throw away this crow that I had. That's not a crow.
I see all my friends devoured. It's like some Dark Souls shit.
Yeah. I saved my game or whatever. This episode fucking sucks, man. It's all over the place.
True.
Okay. So little side tangent. I might cut this out of the podcast. I might not. Make sure that I record an intro explaining how fucked up the recording was for this episode.
Some difficulties.
Just like, hey, so there's gonna be some weird, like, it's like some cuts and stuff. Just like, get over it.
Oh wow.
Oh no, no. I
Okay.
mean, like we make good, like we're good at doing this, but the programs that we use to record our content have been shitting the bed all day. So there's going to be some
That's not very cool.
inconsistencies in the audio and the video, not at the same time, but just like overall. Moving on.
Moving on. So next news story is some news has come out about a new deal that Warner Bros. Is crafting with talent that is being affected by the HBO Max theater deal, where all these movies for the next year are going to be released simultaneously with their theater drops.
Right, right.
Um, so coming off the back of that decision, which it sounds like not a whole lot of people on the outside of the higher ups and the studio itself were just they didn't discuss that with them. Um, a lot of people were pissed for varying reasons. You had your Nolans and the ilk
Ooh,
who
look at
were
me in my business suit.
they were very distraught with the creative uh, injury that the movies would take based off that decision. So they say. And then you have other people who are more like, "Hey, so I'm not going to get my bonus for this then if
I
it's
can't
not."
pay. I can't pay rent for my McMansion because you decided
Now,
to release it on HBO Max. So
to be fair, bonuses would like those would be partly distributed to crew as well, depending on what the whole production was. Um, so there is that um, to consider, not just the headliners or anything. Um, but yes, so a lot of people were upset. It sounds like what is happening now is Warner Brothers is going back to each smaller studio or casting agency individually and making deals. There's a discussion about Denzel Washington and him getting the back end that his contract generally stipulates, making sure he gets that. Um, because the way I think movies are financed so shoulder to shoulder, not only with the production company, but with certain stars as well. So I think that's kind of what they were worried about. Not so much their performance bonuses or whatever, but more on like, I get a back end of like 40, well, not 40%, but 15% off the theater revenue or whatever. And now that theater revenue is ostensibly being cut, because we're in a pandemic, and people can just stay home and be safe to watch these movies.
you would think that that would be the strategy they would tell their movie productions. Like, hi, okay, so I'm gonna play the role of Warner Brothers executive. I've played the role before. I believe I shot a horse or something last time.
It's something of the like.
Yeah. And you are going to play the role of Christopher Nolan, and I want you to react naturally. I want you to play. Just go with me on this. So, okay, you're coming to me. You're coming into my office. You're like, I just found out the news that they're going to be releasing it day and date with HBO Max. So go ahead. Or you don't have to be Christopher Nolan, but like that's the best example. So go ahead.
Okay, so hey, Mr. Warner Bros.
It's
Executive.
it's me,
Uh,
Mr. Bros.
are you Chad? Is your name Chad? Or...
Sup? I'm Chad Bros.
Okay, listen, Chad. Look, this deal you just made without consulting me or my firm or my agency or whatever, that shit's bad, and I'm gonna sue the fuck out of you now.
Now listen here, man. It's not my fault we're in a pandemic.
Well,
I
it's
will
not my
kill
fault.
you.
You're right. You're right. It's not your fault.
Listen, bro. Hold on, I'll put this away. Listen,
Please.
listen. If we weren't in a pandemic, we wouldn't have had to make this decision. Maybe tell your crew that they should, sequester. They should quarantine and wear a mask. Look at Tom Cruise. Look at this guy over here. Look at how high energy he's jumping on that couch over there on Oprah, excited about his relationship with Katie Hudson or whatever her fucking name is. Look at her. Look at her in Batman Begins. Anyway, Tom Cruise, he's distributing his film crew with robots that are giving
It's
them
not true.
vaccines.
It's not true.
They're little robots giving them tissues and masks.
No.
I will shoot a horse.
Okay.
Christopher Nolan. I'm just okay. So just
if you're ever up for a job at Warner Brothers or Warner Media in general, don't let them see this.
I won't. Or just don't let anyone see it anyway.
My response would be, tough shit. You signed a contract. It clearly stipulates that I'm owed this, and you going around my back to put this on your streaming service in which you get all the profit means that you're liable now. I'm going to take you to court, asshole. So that's actually what happened with Legendary. That got settled, which that leads into our last story, which I'll get to here shortly. But that is why they're making all these deals now, these renegotiations,
right?
Is because they have opened themselves. I personally agree in that this was the right move. You're not going to get out the door anyway. Even if you do, theaters are like at a quarter of their occupancy that they were before the pandemic, so you're not even going to make a whole lot off of that anyway. So you could feasibly construe this into certain people taking advantage of the situation to make sure that they always get something off the back end, no matter what, regardless of whether or not they need it. But whether or not that's true, the fact remains is that legally, this is the way they're going about kind of hamstringing any sort of argument against it. All that being said, it is interesting how the certain artistes of the argument, the ones to say this is going to seriously hamper the way the audience digests my film, the way it's experienced in the theater is the way it's supposed to be. So you're like damaging the creative output that I am giving you. They have been very quiet since these renegotiations.
Warner Brothers?
No, the people who are like, my creative vision, it's being hampered. Now, granted, I did just say that Legendary has settled on at least one movie.
Right.
Dune is still in kind of they're discussing their options at the moment. But those are the two of the biggest like legal ones that were being presented. But this is also kind of like a way to make sure to hang on to your talent, or at least try to make it to hang on to your talent. You know, a lot of people were speculating that Patty Jenkins was jumping ship after the whole Wonder Woman 1984 thing to Star Wars. Only like a week or two after that, she came out and confirmed that she was working on Wonder Woman 3. So I don't know. It's all pure speculation. Aside from the fact that this does seem like to be damage control, whether or not it works and whether or not the money that they're spending on it is going to, save them in the long run, it remains to be seen. But yeah, they are shelling out quite a bit to renegotiate all these terms.
You got to kind of feel for Chad Warner and his brother.
I don't.
They signed a lot of these contracts pre-pandemic, and they unfortunately were hit with the broadside of a barn, and they got themselves into a sticky situation. They are trying to make the best of both their company and also the people that they work with. Like, it's not them just straight, hey, by the way, once this movie comes out, we're canceling all projects with you because you're a pain in the ass to deal with, Mr. Nolan.
All. I mean, we just had, I don't have it on the docket, but there's a continuation, or I guess at the moment ending, to all the Ray Fisher drama that was going on with them. Warner Media is not altruistic in any sense of the word.
I'm not saying they're saints. No, I'm saying that they were backed into the corner when it came to this situation, and they were trying to come up with the best solution both for their clients and also the audiences who are going to give them the money that they want. in order to continue to operate. So
in the end, it all boils down, of course, to money.
yes.
So I would assume that this being the strategy that they're taking, that they have seen that in the long run, to avoid any legal matters or any negative press or effect on HBO subs or whatever, that this is the way they're going to go. And then on to our last news story. Mentioning Legendary, they did settle out of court for Godzilla vs. King Kong.
Yes.
And it seems like in direct response,
Yes.
that has now been moved up.
Yes.
To March.
26th.
26th.
Yeah.
March 26th. Originally, this was going to drop in May. And now it is being dropped in March.
Giant monkey and giant lizard fighting together in Tokyo.
Yeah, so generally, yeah.
Fuck you.
I'm just going to fly on right by that. So generally, when you see these kind of moves, like moving up the release date like that, it is kind of a bit of a warning bell that maybe things aren't as nice as they could be with the release. But considering that this has been done for so long, in this scenario, it just kept getting pushed back for pandemic reasons.
Right.
And now that they seem to have settled the dispute with Legendary concerning this film, like I said, Dune is still in the process of being discussed. They're just like, fuck it, throw it out. It's just like, get it out there ASAP, you know? And I am here for it.
Me too.
I want to see a big gorilla beat up a big lizard.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, either way.
Well, as the record shows, you know.
The records do show. The records do show.
There's that wizard on the highway again.
A
giant monkey.
Hello, Sonny. Let me tell you about the story of when my monkey beat up my lizard.
I am in. And that's all that we got?
That is all the news, yeah.
This is a weird way to end. All right. Zach, if people wanted to tell us their opinions on which giant monkey could beat up which giant lizard, how would they tell us?
You could email us either at lightscameranonsense@gmail.com, or you can email us at, say, something like Godzilla Forever at lightscameranonsense.com, or King Kong Forever at lightscameranonsense.com.
Okay, King Kong Forever at lights. Oh, this is too long, man. Camera nonsense.
Godzilla wins just by
.com. We'll keep that. We'll let it be that. Yay, we did it. That'll be the email for the week. Perfect.
Yes. You email us, tell us your questions, concerns,
comments, anything.
anything.
We will read it aloud on the show, and we want to be able to interact with you, our audience, at a personal level without giving any personal details to us. Do not do that.
Impersonal, personal level.
Thank you. If you also want to support this train wreck of a show, please head on over to patreon.com/lightscameranonsense and support us as low as $1. If you don't, it's okay. I understand. I've been there. I actually used my $1 for this Patreon to buy a taco at Taco Bell. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? Yes, it was. It was Doritos Loco Taco.
Oh, God, you're just asking for trouble.
It was delicious, I'll have you know, for 30 minutes.
I'm sure it was, yeah, and then, you got to deal with the consequences.
Absolutely. But if you can't, that's okay. You can always check out this show on YouTube by hitting lightscameranonsense.com. You can visit us there. But this has been Lights Camera Nonsense, keeping you updated despite our best efforts. Make sure to tune in every 2 weeks to see all the news, reviews, and what else, Zach?
How do you do?
It's absolutely true. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.